Architects and engineers both use a variety of scales in their work. I'm only going to discuss the ones that we're going to use in this course. We're going to use 4 different scales. The first one is the full size scale. Now you probably recognize this if you were born or went to school in the United States or England. This is based on the English measurement system, and you probably called it a ruler as you were in school, but this is not to be really called a ruler. It's to be called a scale, and this would be the full size scale. Now this tool itself is called a triangular scale. See, it has three different sides, but this is also a scale, and it has the number 16 out of the side of it because it represents inches that are divided up into 6 if we look at parts. And so if we look at this, we have 1/16, which is the smallest increment, and then we go to 1/8 inch, and then we go to 1/4 inch, and then we go all the way to 1/2. And if you learn those divisions, the 16th being the smallest, then the 1/8, then the quarter. Now in some of these the half is actually a little bit larger to denote that it is more than a 1/4 inch, but by virtue of the fact that it's in the middle, it's not too hard to see that it's 1/2 inch. But that's the way this scale is divided, and we use this all the time in construction and in engineering to measure drawings and buildings as they progress. And again, it's very simple to measure a line. We just start at 0 and we go to whatever designation we want. If we want to draw a line 1 1/4 inches, then we just start at 0 and we stop on the 1/4 inch mark. Or if we want to draw a line 1 3/4 inches, we would do it like this. So it's just a matter of becoming familiar with the graduations. There are 12 inches on this scale. I don't want to zoom out because I want to keep it to where you can actually see the fractional parts. But it's just more of the same. We have 12 inches and each one is divided the same way. And we could go up here if we want to do a 2.5 inch line right there. It would look like this. Now opposite of this scale on the same tool we have the half size scale. And the half size scale, what they've done is they've taken 1/2 of an inch in real terms, or real size, 1/2 of an inch, and they've divided that into 16 parts. And so if you want to do a drawing and draw something half size, you can do so by using the same numbers and not have to do the math for dividing each one of your fractions. So let's look at this one. The line that I just drew up here, which was 2 1/2, if I use the half size scale on that, we can see that that's going to measure 5 inches. Okay, so I'm drawing something, it might measure 5 inches, but when I use this scale it's only going to draw it 2 1/2, and that's how it reduces the size of the drawing. Okay, here's one more example. If I go say 4 1/2 inches, I start at the 4, go to 0, and then go to the half inch mark, then I see in full size it's really only 2 1/4. So you're drawing something, you're using the full size dimensions, for instance the 5 inches, but when I actually go to draw it, it actually draws at half size, just like that. So I have a 4 1/2 inch line as opposed to what it was earlier, which was actually 2 1/4. So that's how both of these scales operate. Neither one of them are very difficult to learn. It's just a matter of becoming familiar with the way they operate. So again, now we have the 0 is always going to denote the full size inches that are in line with it, because some of these scales have other scales going the opposite direction. So as we look at this one, the half size scale, we want to keep in mind that the 1, the 2, and the 3 are the inches that are in line with the 1/2 size scale, because they're the ones that are in line with the 0. We don't pay any attention to these other numbers at the top because they are related to the 1/4 size scale, which is going the opposite direction. So you'll find that as you use these tools, you'll see that most often when you have two scales, the odd numbers will be left off, or they will be represented by other scale lines. For instance, this one has 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but the odd numbers are left off and are represented by these lines, which happen to coincide with where they would be. So this is how the half-size scale works. Again, it's 1/2 inch divided into 16 increments, and so it would be 1 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, 1/4, and so on, just as it would be in the full-size scale.